It is a winding road with bumps and tragedy along the way.
It affects everyone and it affects them the same way, and it's having a dramatic effect.
And as our region continues to deal with the growing heroin epidemic, we're examining what's working.
It's not necessarily how we got clean, it's how we can help them stay clean.
And what's not.
Those are the fatalities. That doesn't include all the overdoses.
And how drug abuse affects nearly everyone as need grows and resources are sometimes hard to come by.
We need funding, which is always the hard part.
We celebrate progress.
There's a lot of good things that have happened, and it just hasn't been mere coincidence.
And question setbacks.
That was one of the things about 750 Baltimore Street, not in my backyard.
As hope remains that a road to recovery will finally lead to solutions. Welcome to another edition of WHAG's In Focus. I'm Nick Munson. Over the next half hour, we will revisit a topic that continues to dominate headlines. Heroin is deadly and it continues to devastate our local community. It ruins lives and families, stretches local resources, and has proven to be an issue that is not easily addressed. As we continue down the road to recovery, we're looking at the success stories and the setbacks, the lessons learned, and the plans for the future. 2 years ago, we met retired police officer Kevin Simmers for the first time. Only weeks after his daughter's death, he shared her story of addiction, and now he is bringing her dreams to life. WHAG's Sarah Gizrael checked back in with Simmers and the progress of Brooks House. Officials with Brooks House have already raised $300,000 for the building. They estimate that the house will cost $1 million to build, but thanks to the support of community members like architect Norm Morgan, that cost could be cut significantly. And as a part of our reporting, we also sat down with Kevin Simmers for a studio interview to talk more about the heroin epidemic in the four-state. Here's just a part of that conversation. Brooks' heartbreaking story is one that many here in the four-state area are familiar with. So since it happened, how has it created a sense of awareness, not just for the issue, but Brooks House cause as well, kind of from 2015 going forward till now? How has the community responded and stepped up?
Well, the community has really rallied behind us. You know, I like to tell people if you're not infected with this terrible disease, you're definitely affected. And you're either affected because your neighbor down the street has a child or a loved one that's suffering, niece, nephew, or your own child, or you may be suffering from this disease yourself. I think what Brooks' story did more than anything else is it brought the conversation to the dinner table. A lot of people didn't talk about this, felt like it was weak-minded people, it wasn't going to happen to them, it wasn't going to happen to their family. And I think Brooks' story kind of brought that out where there's nobody immune from this. It doesn't matter where you come from, this disease has no boundaries.
That was just a part of our interview of Kevin Simmers. We will post the full interview on your4state.com. Just click on the In Focus section. Well, after the break, we'll go to the front lines of the war on heroin and hear from law enforcement on the challenges they face every day in this battle. Stay with us. Welcome back to WHAG's In Focus. Law enforcement agencies across the country are teaming up at the local, state, and federal levels to tackle the heroin epidemic. WHAG's Emily Aketa tells us how new technology is being used to help in the fight. Officials from several different HIDTA locations are gathering for a summit in Atlanta this summer, where they will talk about how to educate more kids in homes and schools. I also recently sat down with Jeff Beeson, who is the Deputy Director and Chief of Staff for the Washington-Baltimore HIDTA program. Here's just a part of my conversation with him. How many different drug trafficking organizations are you really up against in the grand scheme of things?
Hundreds, thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about local organizations, national organizations, multinational organizations. The drugs in this area are coming up through the southwest border, right? And they come up through a variety of channels, whether vehicle, air, postal, you name it, they're coming to the area, and then they're being distributed accordingly. We focus our efforts on those larger organizations, not street level busts, but mostly getting resources to law enforcement to take down a drug trafficking organization. And that's something defined as having 5 or more members and a hierarchy.
Awesome. Well, when counties are a part of HIDA, what can the designated funding be used for? You said surveillance, overtime pay, that sort of thing. So when you're going against these drug trafficking organizations, what's the makeup of them? They can come from anywhere, and how do you dismantle them?
Yeah, well, first it's understanding what the threat is. You know, who's trafficking what, where are they trafficking it, and how are they trafficking? From us, you know, looking at it from a national perspective, we know what resources are nationally, but really it's the boots on the ground. It's that local law enforcement. The biggest tool that we provide to them is investigative and intelligence analysis. Folks will come to us, you know, local PD, Martinsburg PD, Hagerstown, and they'll have taken a bunch of cell phones or this or that. We'll take those numbers, we'll put them against our database, and we'll do big data analysis. Because I'll tell you, the person that either overdosed or the dealer, the last person they called is either their distributor or their dealer.
Again, you can find my full interview with Jeff Beeson by logging on to yourforstate.com. Well, after this break, we turn our attention to a drug that is even more potent than heroin is, how fentanyl is taking lives in the 4-state region, when inFocus continues. Welcome back to WHAG's inFocus. As the drug problem increases in West Virginia, so does the amount of fentanyl that law enforcement officers seize. While officials in the Eastern Panhandle say that heroin is still the #1 killer for drug addicts, fentanyl may be making it even worse. WHAG's Aaron Miller has the story. If you or someone you know may be struggling with addiction, head to our website, yourforstate.com, for more information on how to get help. Well, many law enforcement agencies say that the heroin epidemic in the 4-state region is at a crisis level. The amount of overdoses comes with major costs and places a strain on local resources. WHAG's Jonathan Hunter investigated the economic impact of the heroin overdose crisis, and he has this story. Local law enforcement agencies say that a major way they are trying to relieve the financial burden of heroin overdoses is through prevention. Well, after this break, we discuss treatment options, what's working and what's not, and why providing more opportunities for help can be a challenge. Welcome back to WHAG's inFocus. As the heroin epidemic has tightened its grip on the 4-state area, it's become all too obvious that we can't arrest our way out of this problem. Leaders and agencies on all sides of the issue agree that treatment options are just as important to solving it, if not more. I found out how much progress has been made in one of the hardest hit areas of the region, the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia. In that report, you heard about the success of the Help for WV program. I recently talked with Jeremy Smith about why that program has been so effective. Since this helpline has gotten off the ground, how many calls has it been getting from residents all over the state?
We're seeing some really great success with the program. We recently just went over 10,000 calls.
Wow.
And right around a year and a half. So right now we're seeing about 236 new callers per week. So it's a well-utilized resource, and we're really proud of what we are doing at the helpline. Great.
Well, what are some of the features of the program? How does it work exactly?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, it's 24/7. All you have to do is call 844-HELP-4-WV. But we also have that same number is textable. And then also, if you visit our website, helpforwv.com, you can actually do an instant chat feature with an agent as well. So we try to make it as easy as possible to get help. And then the great thing about the helpline is a lot of the folks answering the phones are in recovery themselves. So they've been there and they really do understand what the caller's going through. So it really just gives the caller somebody that can to connect with that's really been there.
That's all the time we have for this edition of WHAG's inFocus as we continue down the road to recovery. You can find all of the reports in this special on yourforstate.com, as well as exclusive web content that includes extended interviews. Until next time, for all of us at WHAG News, I'm Nick Munson.